getting into this second segment, the Ravens have signed 2 players in the last, week or so, being Devin Gray and Javon Swann. And we're just going to kind of give our thoughts on that in this segment of the Trust the Bank podcast. So if you're watching this YouTube video and you're like, what are you guys talking about? Basically, we're doing the podcast. So you can listen to the previous segment earlier, or you can go to the podcast platform, Trust the Bank, Spotify, Apple, things like that. And you can listen to those. But let's talk about Devin Gray first, since he happened, when we're recording this, it happened today that we signed him. I'll give an overview on him. He is a former player for the Falcons practice squad. He's played in their preseason games before. I believe Ian Rappaport tweeted and said his most recent playing was in the Spring League. Spent 3 seasons on the Falcons practice squad. I did some stuff researching into the Falcon, like kind of reading some Falcons news. Supposedly he was pretty good in the preseason for them. Obviously never made the roster. But he was a bubble spot, I believe, last year, his 3rd year, to make that final spot. And I believe nobody got the final spot. In the players that they talked about fighting for that last spot, they did not sign any of them. And so they just decided to go with less wide receivers. But for me, this is just something to level out get more wide receivers out there. We cut Dante Silencio, who I believe we're going to re-sign and then put on injured reserve, just like with Xavier Kelly, similar to what we did with Jacob Breland the last year. If it doesn't happen, it's whatever. Unfortunately, Dante Silencio didn't have a crazy high chance to make the roster, but we did cut him. And so now we brought in Devin Gray, and it's not really going to matter, unfortunately. Maybe we'll get to see some nasty, maybe Tyler Huntley throws a touchdown to him in preseason, but that's or I can't remember who our 4th quarterback is. But I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on Devin Gray, Joshua?
Not really, man. He went to University of Cincinnati. I really don't follow is it the Bearcats? Bearcat football?
Yes, Bearcats, yeah.
Really don't follow Bearcat football, even though, my daughter and her mom, my love, is there. I can't stand it. But her grandmother on the mother's side is literally a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Her mother, my daughter's mother, is a Steelers fan. And then you got me and my mom as a Ravens fan. I done said this numerous times. And my daughter just, she's just confused. But usually she just goes. She roots for who her daddy roots for, which is
she got to pick Cleveland. Make the full north.
I think her uncle on her mom's side actually does like the Cleveland Browns, but
there you go.
It's literally a shit show. But agree to disagree. Nah, man, I really don't got too much to say about Devin Gray. I'm sorry that Lamar's high school friend did get cut from the team. Maybe if we trade Devin Duvernay for the Julio trade that everybody's been wanting so bad, even though I've been seeing in the comments of previous episodes that people want us to trade either Miles Boykins or James Prochet, and you're talking about trading 2 guys that doesn't have trade value. But I'm not gonna dive.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua.
Into that. Silencio was a returner. He was a special teams returner. So, if we do let Dev go for the Julio trade that everybody's been crying and wanting, asking about, maybe that's how he makes it on the roster. But this Devin Gray move is just is added depth. It's OTA time. It's minicamp time. So you need somebody else that the other quarterbacks can throw the ball to. So I ain't really got too much to say about it.
Yeah, if somehow he makes the team, great for him. He's got good size. He's 6 feet tall. I believe he's about 185 pounds. He's got good size and things like that. It's just this is by far the most stacked wide receiver room we've ever had in terms of depth. If this was 3 years ago and he's battling with Quincy Adebayo and Tim White and things like that, this guy could be on the team.
Yeah,
but he's not. He's battling with Miles Boykin. We clown on Boykin a lot. Miles Boykin is a legitimate NFL wide receiver. He secured some spots during minicamp.
He's saying
Yeah.
he literally secures his spot during minicamp by showing out in minicamp. But when it's time to play in games, you don't know who you're going to get that day.
Yeah, like, and he's on the bubble, and it's like, wow, this is a guy who was like legitimately been a top 3 wide receiver on a team before, and he's battling for a roster spot. And it was like last year where he was a top 3 wide receiver on the depth chart. So like the depth is just crazy with the Ravens, which is so amazing. So obviously more competition is better, but let's get into a position with way less competition, defensive tackle, because we signed Javon Swann. Man, what? The Ravens are like, oh, let's go after all the Stanford guys McConnell doesn't talk about. That's their whole plan. That's the whole plan. Every time I'm like, oh, we got to go after this Stanford guy, I'm like, oh, we got Simi Fehoko. Let's go after him. Nah, we got Javon Swann, who then transferred to Indiana. Defensive tackle. You know, obviously he's a defensive tackle. So statistically, it really doesn't matter what he is. What matters is whether or not he can plug up the holes and just be a big body. He's not crazy athletic. He doesn't have insane size. He's about 285 pounds at about 6'2", 6'3". And he is somebody who has kind of a chance just because the defensive tackle spot is smaller, especially after he who will not be named.
Did he get cut?
I don't even know if he got cut. I just know
he
got arrested. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he hasn't been cut, but I know he isn't practicing or anything like that. But you know, overall, the guys he's battling with, obviously Brandon Williams, like we have a lot of depth at the defensive lineman spot already that isn't at OTA. So bringing him in makes sense. You know, especially after the fight that we had with Matabike and Patrick McCarry yesterday. You know, bringing another defensive tackle to back up the Matabike side of the things. But overall, I think he does have a chance to make the team just because the Ravens are lacking that depth. I don't really think it will happen. You know, he could be definitely a practice squad guy, but defensive tackle is definitely a position where over time you can drastically improve. I mean, it's literally about it. I mean, because the defensive tackle spot isn't about, oh, he has to learn all these pass rush moves. No, he just has to figure out how to become that big body inside. And that is something where the Ravens actually have a history of being able to develop. You look at what we've done to, you know, look at Matabike's advancement just from the beginning of last year to the end. You look at what we did with Brandon Williams, and then historically you got Haloti Ngata and you got all these guys. So I feel like they can definitely improve that. And maybe in the future he does have a chance. But I definitely like the signing because we only had at one point like 3 interior defensive linemen at OTAs. So we got to bring in more people so that every snap it's not Makari versus Matabike, which is probably why they ended up, you know, I don't think they threw any fists from what I've heard, but they did get separated. So I don't know. What do you think about Javon Swann, defensive tackle out of Indiana?
I mean, I did see that he actually he got like 3 interceptions in his whole his whole Stanford career. He did produce a decent number of sacks. A good solid number of tackles, especially, you know, controlling that inside. I definitely feel like he can make a contribution on his team, especially if he makes the roster. Honestly, in my opinion, you know, I think it's time for Brandon Williams to us parting ways. But you know, Ravens fans may not want to hear that. That's totally fine, guys. You know, I still love y'all. We're still family. Agree to disagree. At the end of the day, you know, coming from a business standpoint, Brandon Williams is just he's a household name now, guys. Let's be real. He's just a household name. He doesn't really produce like he used to, and you know, he needed that help with Calais Campbell to be back in like some type of Pro Bowl form. Honestly, you know, I'm on BaltimoreRavens.com right now, McConnell. I see Brother Washington still on the roster, so I don't know if he's gonna, you know.
I don't know how updated that that roster is. That may not have been updated for a little bit, but we'll see.
I don't know if they let him go. If they did, I hope not. He actually did show promise that he can be, you know, a star in the NFL. But I definitely feel like Justin Matabike he's going to have a stellar sophomore season. If he has a big breakout season, yeah, I can definitely see us parting ways with Brandon Williams and Matabuke taking on a lot of snaps this upcoming year. And then you add a Javon Swann. Yes, he's 280, 6'3", but a 6'3", 280 guy. He's a little more athletic. He can work. He can get around the interior offensive lineman a little faster. Usually offensive linemen, especially the guard position, they're not good with the feet work. They're more hands-on, more stronger guys. So if you look at the way someone is planting their hand or their feet, you can tell which play it is. And like those are the little techniques I've learned, that can separate you and make you better than your opponent. So I mean, it's all up, being in that interior line it's like a dance, but it's about who gonna out dance who, almost like stomp the yard, step up, stuff like that. So I mean, I definitely feel like he can come in, help out, but I definitely feel like this a more young is we need a younger core for that interior line, and I feel like Matabuke is going to lead the way. Hopefully Swann can make the team and get that veteran help from Derek Wolfe, Calais Campbell, and they just make that run they stride, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think both of these signings, I think they were necessary to help with camp, not necessary to, win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I mean, these are moves to help the lower end roster spots, see what they're about and things like that. Obviously, we're rooting for them. We hope they do well. We hope they make the team. It's just very unlikely. However, I think that's going to do it for this segment. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to Daily Ravens content. Come through to the Live with the Viewers at 5 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday.